JC and Danko have been together since what, 1996?
Yeah.
Wow, dude. It's official. It is now a career.
I guess so.
Yeah. We don't know how to do anything else, pretty much.
Right. If you did have to do anything else, JC, what do you think it might have been, bro?
Starting in a band.
Managing a band? Doing sound for a band?
Doing magic and being in a band at the
There you
same
go.
time. No one's done that before.
That would be sick, bro. David Copperfield, sit down, pal. Now, you guys are from the Toronto area, right?
Yeah.
Would you guys consider yourselves, you know, like the new coming of the Toronto sound? Because, you know, Rush was a Toronto band, right?
Yeah, Rush is still a Toronto band.
Yeah, and there was kind of a, you know, a 70s, 80s Toronto sound that Rush sort of infused, and other bands kind of had that sound. But come 90s, really no one broke out of Toronto until you guys did, not necessarily in the U.S., but in Canada. And then you had success in Europe. So, you know, now it's like Toronto's the hotbed. And I'm not just talking about in Canada, but, you know, here in the States as well. You know, there have been a number of bands that have come out of there. I mean, Our Lady Peace came out, I guess, about the same time as you guys.
A few years earlier.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Like
okay.
93 or 4. Yeah.
So maybe they set the stage for you guys. Is that the case?
No. Not really.
We're from a different scene. We've toured with them.
Yeah.
But we started off in like the garage rock scene. And being 4 hours away from Detroit, you know, there's bands like the Gories and the Demolition Doll Rods and the Dirt Bombs and eventually the White Stripes. So, and there's a whole bunch of other ones, the Electric Six. So all that stuff was kind of, you know, those bands were coming over, and those were the records in the scene that we were sort of initially part of. And plus the greater American garage rock scene with the Makers and the Blues Explosion and stuff like that, and the Oblivions and stuff. So that's where we come from. It's not really from Our Lady Peace, but they're on the radio, and we knew of them, and eventually we toured the States with them. They brought us down here, so they're really nice guys.
So kind of like you know, like Nirvana was into like Skinny Puppy and Dead or Flipper and 999, kind of these underground sounding bands, when, you know, Pearl Jam were kind of the commercial band, and they ended up, you know, working together and being part of a same movement, if you will. So would you consider that you guys sort of sprung from an underground scene then?
Yeah, I guess so. You know, it was more of a, you know, not knowing how to be in a band together and play our instruments as well. And then as we kept playing, we got a little better, and we started to look at other bands like, you know, Kiss and Lizzie and see if we can do what they're doing. And so I don't think we sound like a lot of those garage rock bands. I don't think they would say we sound like them either. But that's where we came from, you know. And I think the whole garage rock aesthetic is a little overblown, and kind of a little poserish. But it's really great. So when it hits the nail on the head, it's an amazing sound, and some bands have done it.
At what point did you guys realize that you had your own sound? You know, you said that you didn't even really play your instruments well and such. And at what time, you know, what year did it really click for you guys where you're like, you know, this is the sound of Danko Jones? Because you do have a unique, exciting sound.
I don't really know. I think it's when we started reading about it, when people started saying it and telling us. We never really were conscious of coming up with a sound. We just wanted to play some good rock songs, or songs that sounded good to us. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, I think you let other people tell you, you know, what you sound like, or if you're any good, or, you know, that's for everybody else to dictate, you know.
Now, you hosted or syndicated actually a radio show out of Europe at one time, I guess up to about 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, I gave it up about 3 years ago. It was just too much work.
What did
it's a lot of work.
You need a gig like mine, bro. And, did you learn anything about music doing radio, you know, and about being in a band, either, you know, good or bad, like, hey, this is a radio gig and I could do this for a living rather than being in a band, or doing this radio gig really makes me want to succeed in my band more?
Yeah, probably the latter. I used to do a radio show way before that, and that's, I think, where I learned more about music back then. But doing the radio show, I learned that it's really hard to chase people down for interviews, and a lot of times guys in bands don't want to be interviewed, and then a lot of times they do, and I'm not really that keen on interviewing people. That's really what I found out. And I also, when I get interviewed and the interviewer isn't prepared or doesn't really care, then I know that that dude's kind of a douche better than I did before, you know? So I'm not saying that this interview, I'm not calling you a douche at all. I'm just saying, like, when someone doesn't even bother, like, you know, we did an interview last week, and the guy didn't know what city we were from. And me and JC, we just looked at each other after the interview, and we're like, you could just go on Wikipedia.
But
at this point,
first
you know?
Question was, what's your favorite color?
Yeah, what's your favorite
So
color?
that was,
like that kind of stuff. You know, after
Mine's is blue, by the way. Just so everyone knows.
I would have thought it was black.
But after doing interviews with other people, you do gain a little bit more perspective on how to do an interview, and it is actually quite hard. So, but it's just when someone comes to the table unprepared, you're like, dude, you know, what's
well, now
the
you know how
problem?
we feel.
Exactly. Of course. Yeah. Because I also got that perspective too. It's like, well, I'm here trying to help and expose your band on this rinky-dink. I know it's a rinky-dink radio show, but still, you know.
Trust me, it doesn't matter if it's rinky-dink or if it's major market.
Yeah.
Some bands just can't be bothered whether it's going to sell their show out or not.
I know. I can't believe that either. I see it too. We see it too. You know,
Yeah.
when the band just kind of like, you got to drag them to wherever.
Right.
Yeah.
To promote their product, and it's like, do you
or they give you
understand?
one-word answers during
Yeah.
the interview.
Oh, I've had plenty of those, man. Forget it. Let's.
No,
you're right.
man,
Let's
I wanna
hear some
hear it.
music.
All right.
I mean, I got to think to do that. My mind is focused on Danko Jones right now.